My 8-year-old daughter was left at the airport by my parents while they boarded first class with my sister's family. The message said, "We all voted that she should stay." I didn't shout. I did this. 7 days later, their lives started falling apart. It was supposed to be a big morning. Maddie's first trip without me, 8 years old, thrilled, running on orange juice and adrenaline. She kept checking her backpack like it might disappear, headphones, coloring book, the little stuffed rabbit she refused to leave behind. My parents and my sister's family were taking her to Florida. Sunshine, theme parks, the works. I couldn't get time off, so I packed her favorite snacks, kissed her hair, and told myself this was fine. She'd be surrounded by family. What could possibly go wrong? At 7:50 a.m., my mom texted a photo from the gate. Maddie grinning, one missing tooth, both thumbs up. Underneath, "Boarding soon." I smiled at my phone, told a coworker she's off on her first adventure, and tried to ignore the small ache of envy in my chest. Then, 2 hours later, another message buzzed through. "We all voted that she should stay." I frowned at it mid-meeting, half listening to someone talk about projections and deadlines. Stay where? It didn't even register as serious, just another one of my family's weird, cryptic jokes. I set the phone face down and got back to work. I wish I'd called then, but I didn't. And by the time I understood what that message really meant, my daughter was sitting in an airport with a stranger, waiting for a mother who didn't know she'd been left behind. The rest of the morning dissolved into noise, emails, conference calls, the usual chaos. Every so often I'd glance at the photo of her at the gate and feel that quick pulse of pride again. She was flying across the country. She was brave. She was fine. By mid-afternoon, the office lights had turned the color of old paper. I checked my phone again. No messages. Of course not. They'd be in the air, probably halfway to Florida. I told myself to stop hovering. When I finally left work, the parking lot smelled like heat and asphalt. I unlocked my car, glanced one more time at my phone, and saw the same unread text staring back at me. We all voted that she should stay. For the first time, it felt strange. Off. I decided to call once they landed, just to hear her voice, to tell her goodnight. It was a long day. I wanted something normal. They answered on the second ring. Laughter in the background, the clatter of luggage, someone saying something about a rental car. "Hey," I said, smiling. "You made it." Put Maddie on. A pause. Then my mother's voice, light as if we were talking about the weather. "Didn't you get our message?" "What message?" "The one that said we all voted she should stay." I laughed, because what else do you do when your brain refuses the obvious? "What does that even mean?" My father's voice came next, calm, factual. "She was acting up." We decided it was better she stay home. The laugh died in my throat. "You left her?" My sister cut in, bright, efficient. "Relax. We called an emergency childcare agency. She's fine." "Fine?" Mom again. "It's a good agency. 5 stars on Google. We'll text you the name, Mom. We're catching the shuttle. Talk later. Click." For a moment, I just stood there in the parking lot, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to nothing. Then the silence started to ring. I called again. Voicemail. Again. One thought cut through everything else. My child is alone. And just like that, I was moving, bag over shoulder, keys in hand, no plan, just movement. The number came through a minute later, texted from my mother's phone. No message, just a link and the name of an agency I'd never heard of. When someone finally answered, her voice was bored, brittle. "Childcare dispatch." "My daughter," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "She was picked up from the airport by one of your sitters." "I need to know where she is," more typing than talking. Then, The child's been collected. She's safe. The caregiver took her home to wait for pickup. What's the address? Another pause. Keys clicking. Sending it now. A text appeared with a street name I didn't recognize, halfway across the city. No apology, no explanation. Just logistics. I drove. Fast. Too fast. Streetlights smeared across the windshield. The steering wheel was slick under my hands. Every time I blinked, I saw Maddie sitting somewhere strange, small legs swinging, waiting for someone who never came. By the time I pulled up outside the address, my pulse was a steady drum. The neighborhood looked tired, one flickering streetlight, the smell of damp concrete. A woman opened the door before I could knock. Her face said she'd already decided not to like me. "You're the mother?" she asked. "Yes," she snorted. "You people have some nerve. She's been here all day." She turned, calling over her shoulder, "Kid! Your ride's here." Inside, the place smelled of disinfectant and microwaved dinners. Maddie sat on the couch, backpack beside her, rabbit in her lap, eyes huge and glassy. When she saw me, she ran. I caught her mid-stride, nearly knocking us both over. "I was good, Mommy," she whispered. I waited. I held her tight. "You did everything right." "Nobody gave me your number," she said. "I called the one they left. It kept saying the number couldn't be reached." The sitter hovered near the doorway. "Nobody gave me your number," she said. "I called the one they left. It went straight to a voicemail that said the person couldn't take calls." I tried 3 times. "That was my mother," I said. "Thank you for staying." She shrugged. "I'll send the invoice." We left fast. Maddie clung to my hand all the way to the car. The night smelled like jet fuel and rain. She climbed into the passenger seat beside me, still gripping my fingers like an anchor. Neither of us spoke on the drive home. The only sound was the hum of the tires and her small, uneven breaths. At home, Maddie fell asleep on the couch before I could even untie her shoes. I covered her with a blanket, sat beside her. She looked so small again, soft hair against the pillow, rabbit under her chin. My phone glowed on the table. The text still there. We all voted that she should stay. I read it until the words blurred. They thought leaving her behind was a decision they'd get to forget. They were wrong. A week later, they would understand what it means to be left behind. I wish I could say what happened at the airport came out of nowhere. It didn't. It was just the loudest echo of something that had been building my whole life. If you grow up in a family like mine, you learn early that fairness is a rumor. I was the responsible one. My sister Tracy was the sensitive one. That's code for Lydia cleans up, Tracy gets applause. When we were kids, I did homework at the kitchen table while Tracy drew on the walls with crayon. Guess who got grounded? Hint. Not the artist. Mom said it was because Tracy was delicate. Dad said nothing at all, which, in our family, counted as agreement. By the time I was 10, I could make dinner, fold laundry, and sense Mom's mood from 3 rooms away. Tracy, at 7, couldn't pour her own cereal, but somehow already knew how to get what she wanted. She'd cry, Mom would melt, and I'd be the one apologizing for something I didn't do. Even then, I understood the rule. Love was a limited resource, and Tracy had the premium subscription. In high school, I stopped expecting anyone to notice me unless something broke. I became efficient, invisible, useful. Teachers loved me. Mom said I was reliable, which in her language meant boring. When college came, the choice was simple: go or get stuck. My parents contributed exactly nothing except advice. Expensive, unsolicited advice. "Don't get too ambitious," Mom warned. "Men don't like women who outshine them." So naturally, I got ambitious. Scholarship, double shifts, instant noodles, the holy trinity of the overachiever. Meanwhile, Tracy was finding herself, which mostly involved finding bars that didn't card and boyfriends who paid for drinks. She majored in art, then psychology, then undecided, before dropping out to marry Ryan, who still lists his job as freelance. Freelance, what remains a mystery. When I graduated, Mom said, "You think you're better than everyone now?" I didn't answer. I was too tired from climbing a ladder she'd never admit existed. Fast forward a few years. I had a steady job, a mortgage, and a husband who actually did his own laundry. Tracy had 2 kids, a mountain of debt, and a talent for turning every crisis into a group project. Whenever her rent was late or her car broke down, she called me. "I hate to ask," she'd start, which always meant she absolutely didn't hate it. And somehow, I always helped. Because I'm the good daughter, the one who fixes things. Mom loved to remind me of that. "You make more, sweetheart," she'd say, like that ended the discussion. "It's nothing for you." Nothing for me, everything for them. At first it was small, bills, birthday gifts, short-term loans. Then came the big stuff. Family trips where I paid the deposit, the meals, and the oops, forgot my wallet moments. Tracy called it generosity. I called it blackmail with better manners. The house came next. Jason and I bought a fixer-upper as an investment. Something sensible. Adult. Before we could finish painting the kitchen, Tracy showed up crying about her landlord, a broken lease, and nowhere to go. "Just for a few months," she said. Her version of a few months could survive a nuclear winter. She paid a quarter of what we'd agreed, complained about the rest, and posted on Facebook about how greedy people don't understand family. Guess who greedy was? Hint, not the tenant. Every time I mentioned rent, she had a new tragedy. A dentist bill, a stolen laptop, a lost job that she never really had. Mom always took her side. "She's doing her best," she'd say. So was I, apparently in the wrong direction. The one time I tried to stand firm, Mom accused me of putting money above family. I wanted to say family put me below money a long time ago, but sarcasm doesn't work on people who lack self-awareness. Then came the Florida trip. That was supposed to be the olive branch. Tracy said, "The kids would love it." We'd love it. But flights are insane. Translation, pay, and we'll go. I'd been drowning in deadlines, no chance to take time off, so when she offered to bring Maddie along, I actually said yes. It felt like a solution. Maddie gets her first vacation, and I get a week to breathe. I bought the tickets, the hotel, even the matching t-shirts, because Tracy insisted family photos matter. She meant her family. Mom thanked me like I was donating organs. Tracy said, "We'll take such good care of her." They took my money, my daughter, and my peace of mind, and managed to lose all 3 before noon. Looking back, I shouldn't have been surprised. This was the pattern, just louder this time. For years, I'd been the safety net, the walking apology, the invisible backbone. They'd trained me to believe that saying no made me cruel, and saying yes proved I loved them. But standing in that small apartment later, holding Maddie while she cried into my neck, something in me burned clean. Not anger, clarity, the kind that strips away every excuse you've ever made for people who don't deserve them. They'd always said family comes first. I finally agreed. Just not theirs. 7 days after they left Maddie behind, their lives started to unravel. Maddie woke up crying around 2 in the morning. The kind of cry that starts quiet, like she's trying not to bother anyone, then breaks all at once. I was out of bed before I knew I'd moved. She sat up, hair tangled, eyes glassy. "Why didn't Grandma want me?" she whispered. That one sentence hurt more than everything that came before. I pulled her against me. "She doesn't know how to be good," I said softly. "That's not your fault." She nodded like she understood, which somehow made it worse. When she finally drifted off, her breathing even and small, I stayed awake staring at the ceiling. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. By morning, the decision was already made. I just hadn't said it out loud yet. The house was still when I got up. Coffee burned on the warmer. Sunlight hit the pile of unopened mail like it was accusing me. Maddie's stuffed rabbit sat on the counter next to my phone. I scrolled through messages until I reached the last one from my parents. We all voted that she should stay. Every time I read it, it felt more like a dare. Jason was out of town on a business trip, so I didn't wait for anyone's opinion. I opened my laptop and started digging. Emails, bank statements, rental records, every little transaction that said, "You owe me nothing," but somehow meant, "You owe me everything." Then a new notification popped up, another charge from the Florida resort. Room service, under my name. They'd actually ordered margaritas on my card. I laughed, the kind of laugh that sounds like it might break something on its way out. Fine. If they wanted numbers, I'd give them numbers. By the time the coffee went cold, I had the files open in a neat row on the screen. 36 months of rent, discounts. $54,000 they never paid. $3,500 for a vacation I didn't take. $1,200 for an emergency childcare service I never approved. $58,700. It wasn't even about the money, not really. It was about the math of disrespect. You could measure it to the cent. I called a lawyer friend Jason had used once, a calm, no-nonsense guy who sounded like he ironed his ties. Told him I didn't need therapy. I needed a demand letter. He sent me a template. "Keep it factual," he said. "Clean, professional." Perfect. I'm very good at professional. I started with the header, outstanding balances. 2 words, polite as a slap. I attached the lease, the statements, the screenshots of Tracy promising to catch up soon. I added a note about the Florida trip and the emergency child care. Every line was a receipt for a favor they'd pretended was free. When I was done, I read it 3 times. No threats, no swearing, just numbers and dates. The pure language of consequences. I copied my parents on the email because secrets are how they win. Then I hovered over send. For a second, my hands shook. Not from doubt, just adrenaline. Click. That sound was better than applause. The kitchen was still bright with screen light. Across the table, Maddie was hunched over a sheet of paper, drawing, head down, tongue between her teeth, the way she always did when she wanted something to be perfect. A rabbit this time. Big ears, backpack, one paw raised like it was waving goodbye. "What's it doing?" I asked. "Going home," she said. I watched her color in the sky, too much blue, the way kids always overdo it, and felt the last of the shaking leave my hands. "Smart rabbit," I said. She smiled, proud. "He's not scared anymore." Neither was I. The day after I hit send, my phone lit up like a slot machine. Group video call, Mom, Dad, and Tracy. They were still in Florida. Palm trees, drinks with umbrellas. The kind of background that makes outrage look ridiculous. Mom started before the picture even cleared. "Okay, what is this supposed to be?" Tracy laughed so hard she nearly spilled her cocktail. "A bill?" "Really? $58,700? "You're hilarious." Dad smirked. "She's bluffing." "She just wants us to feel bad I didn't answer. Sometimes silence works better than a speech." Mom leaned closer. "You know we don't have that kind of money." "You make 5 times what we do. How could you even send something like that? You wanted to humiliate us?" Tracy jumped in. "Yeah, St. Lydia showing everyone how generous she is. What's next? You'll charge us for oxygen?" "It's not guilt," I said. "It's math." That did it. Their smiles wobbled like bad Wi-Fi. Mom blinked. "Oh, come on, you can't be serious." "I am." Tracy gave a nervous little laugh. You think you can charge your own family? What kind of person does that? The kind of person who doesn't forget you left a child at an airport. The noise from the pool stopped. Even the wind seemed to quit. Mom tried for the high ground. You don't treat family like strangers. Exactly. Tracy's voice jumped an octave. You're exploiting us. Then stop being exploitable. They all started talking at once. 3 voices, 1 chorus of panic. I waited. When they finally ran out of words, I said, 10 business days, and ended the call. Click. My reflection looked back from the black screen, calm, maybe even bored. That silence felt like power. The guilt parade arrived before breakfast. A dozen missed calls, texts, voicemails layered with fake concern. Mom's read, "We're worried about you. This isn't like you." Tracy's was shorter. "Take it back before you regret it." I ignored them, printed the letter again, and mailed the hard copy. If they thought it was a bluff, they could watch it arrive with tracking updates. The morning they flew home from Florida, my doorbell went off like an alarm clock. 3 sharp rings, entitlement in Morse code. I opened the door halfway. Mom in front, Dad behind her, Tracy clutching her phone like she planned to record an exorcism. Mom smiled the smile she uses on waiters. "Sweetheart, this is just a misunderstanding." "No, it's not." Tracy rolled her eyes. "You're just angry about Maddie. Don't ruin the family over this. You did that at the airport." That one hit. Tracy's mouth opened, closed, stayed that way. Mom tried again, softer but sharper. "You've changed." "Good," Dad sighed. "Can't we talk about this inside?" "I'm fine out here." Mom's mask slipped. "You're turning your back on your own parents." "You left my daughter," I said. "I think we're even." The silence after that was heavy enough to hang pictures on. Mom's lip trembled. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, "but at least I'll regret it in my own house." And I shut the door. The latch clicking into place sounded better than applause. The smear campaign started the same night. Tracy posted a photo of a cocktail with the caption, "Money changes people." Mom commented, "Proud of you for staying graceful through pain." Graceful. This from a woman who once cried in a grocery store because they ran out of her favorite rosé. By morning, cousins were texting to ask why I was suing family. I didn't answer. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. He called me that afternoon. "Interesting family you've got," he said. "You have no idea." I sent a defamation warning and a gentle reminder that public posts are admissible evidence. Gentle? As gentle as a grenade. The posts vanished within hours. In their place appeared, "Sorry for the misunderstanding. All good now." Even their emojis looked terrified. Then came the legal chess match. For weeks they refused to pay, swearing they'd fight it in court. My lawyer didn't blink. He sent another letter, dry, professional, and lethal, citing the signed rental contract between Tracy, her husband, and me. 3 years of missed payments, all documented. He attached the original agreement, Tracy's signature right under the clause about monthly rent, and the bank records showing how little she'd actually paid. He also included copies of the messages where they'd asked me to pay for the Florida trip since we're taking Maddie, followed by the evidence that Maddie never even boarded the plane. Each exhibit had its own label, like a miniature grave marker for every favor they'd called family. He included a footnote about the child abandonment incident, phrased as relevant context. After that, they stopped threatening and started whispering. Mom called once more, voice shaking. "Do you really want this to go public?" "You left my daughter at an airport," I said. "It's already public in my head." She hung up. 2 weeks later, my lawyer forwarded an email. Settlement accepted. Large first payment, remainder by installments, all notarized and signed. Jason read over my shoulder. "They caved?" Eventually. He smiled. You sound disappointed. No, just surprised it took this long. He laughed. You're terrifying. Efficient, I corrected. Terrifying's extra. I poured another coffee and stared at the subject line. Final agreement. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like oxygen finally returning to the room. Room. That night I sat at the kitchen table while Maddie drew beside me. Another rabbit. This one wore sunglasses and carried a tiny suitcase. Where's it going? I asked. Anywhere it wants. I smiled. Smart rabbit. The house was quiet. No calls, no noise, no guilt humming through the walls. Outside, a plane passed overhead, softer than before. Maddie didn't look up. Neither did I. I thought about everything. The call, the door, the lawyers, the silence that followed. Not triumph, not revenge. Something steadier. They left her behind. I left them behind. And for once, nobody followed. It's been 3 months since the settlement. The payments arrive on time, automatic transfers that feel more satisfying than any apology ever could. Every 30 days, a polite email reminder. Family reimbursement, installment received. I don't even check the balance anymore. I just smile and move on. The rental property finally makes real money. New tenants, actual contracts, rent paid in full. Jason jokes that the house is finally earning its keep. I stopped being the family bank and became a landlord instead. Strange how cold and practical suddenly feel like peace. With that steady income, we both scaled back a little. Nothing dramatic, just normal hours for once. Jason still works in tech. I still work too, only without the constant overtime. Now, evenings actually belong to us. We eat dinner together, talk, laugh. Maddie's happier, and so are we, though my laugh still sounds a little rusted. Word travels, of course. Apparently, Tracy and her husband both have real jobs now. She works front desk at a dental office. He's doing deliveries. They tell everyone it's temporary, that they're regrouping, but according to a cousin, they mostly complain about being tired. Welcome to the club. Mom hasn't called. I think she finally figured out that silence costs less than arguments. Life's quieter, simpler. I keep the rental income separate, labeled college fund/therapy fund/emergency chocolate fund. Jason calls it the peace dividend. We're fine. Better than fine. Some nights we sit on the porch with Maddie between us and watch planes cut across the sky. She still draws rabbits sometimes. They always make it home. So, what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough?